Good morning. Welcome to another edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show, Red Pill Edition. My name is Leon Jones. And in this segment, I'm going to get into part three. Is family overrated and dysfunctional? Now, I've given you my humble opinion on it. There are a number of instances where family is overrated, and there are some instances where family is not overrated. Now, where I see family being overrated is when you have a number of individuals who are living together with no money, and you even have individuals within the family who have no job and they're not doing anything to help maintain the household. They're living free. You have a number of children out here who live with their moms, and the moms never make them pay for anything. Moms make an excuse for them. And these grown children believe that it's a right for them to live free. And in fact, when it comes to babysitting their children's children, I remember in one part of The Family That Prays by Tyler Perry, Sanaa Lathan, who played a high powered corporate manager who was having an affair with the son of a corporation, believed that the family should be taking care of her child for free because she goes to work. Now, again, when you deal with family, there's a lot of jealousy amongst some family members, and you don't tell your family everything. Now, yesterday there was something that I missed when it comes to men, meaning women, at the time of intimacy, and talked about when a woman had grown kids living at home. Well, as a man, got to be careful too when you bring women over your house. You should always meet in a private place, because when it comes to a number of women out here in this Me Too generation, a number of women are always going to make the accusation that you raped them. And when that happens as a man, your life is basically screwed. Now, I want to reiterate this. Not saying having family is bad. Family is a good support system. But family should not be there to take care of other members for the rest of their lives. And I'm talking about it both ways, because you have a number of family members who are taking care of the elderly parents and the grown children. Again, there is a time and place for you to help. But you think about the family members that you are helping, they really don't appreciate it. Let me ask you this question. If you had a business, would you ever do it with family? Because there's an old saying, never do business with friends or family. And I've seen it firsthand myself when I used to work in the hotel industry for a number of individuals who were Indian people. The reason why some of those hotels went up in smoke or bankrupt is because the family members were always in the till taking money out for personal satisfaction. Therefore, it put me in a position where I had to work longer hours, basically for less money. I was basically slaving, because I worked as a night auditor and a front desk clerk, and I did housekeeping, and I also cooked while I was going to Temple University before I got a job with PennDOT, but I felt like a slave. I felt unappreciated because the family didn't know how to utilize the money. And because there was family and it was a family business, they thought they were entitled to everything. But at the end of the day, it didn't work out for them. And this is why you see a number of these hotels change names. And of course, it's also for the tax purposes. But what I'm saying about family, there are a lot of issues within families that don't get talked about. There's a lot of incest going on within families. And this has been a danger when it comes to any community because a number of predators who are men within communities, whether it's in the black community or white community, ones who are having sex with multiple women, could be having sex with individuals they are related to. And this is why so many kids turn out slow and dysfunctional. But when it comes to family, what happens if you win the lottery? Would you share your wealth with your family? A lot of people won't answer that question. And the reason why they won't answer that question, it's because you will have a number of family members who are going to come out of the woodworks that you never seen or heard of. And these family members are going to be jealous of you. And I've always said this, if you are ambitious and you have family members who are basically complacent, they are content on being where they are, a number of family members have the crabs in a barrel attitude, they will try to shame you not to go anywhere. They'll tell you again, it's too risky. You won't make it. The odds are against you. And as an African American man, you will be told by family members that you're not going to make it in this so-called white world. Well, when you prove them wrong, these family members, they want a piece of what you worked hard for. And if you don't share your wealth that you worked hard, you were the innovator, you utilized your own mind and planning against the odds that they set for you. Well, since you don't share or you won't share your wealth with a number of these family members, they're going to look at you as you think you're better than me. Well, at the end of the day, these family members are very jealous of your success because they didn't believe in you when you told them your plan. But now, when you have executed everything, now they want to reach out to you. And this is where I was telling you that family is not loyal. Again, a lot of what you have now when it comes to family, and I said it in previous videos, of course, this is the third part. Most family members are a bunch of individuals who are self-loathing. They're loafers. A number of them are lazy. A number of them have the welfare state mindset. A number of them are still living at home and they won't leave home. Again, a number of these moms out here, and I'm hitting on these mommies because, again, the mommies have all the children, and mommy is paying for everything. Now, you have things like medical bills that are due if there's a child that's sick. Well, if you are a woman and you're paying medical bills for your children and you have an ex-husband out there, why don't you make him help you pay some of those medical bills? That could alleviate you from doing everything. You have to look at it's that ex-husband's child just like it's your child. I know for me, when my child needed braces, I reached out and helped, although I wasn't there physically. But you want to do what you can for your children, but you want to teach your children that you do not disrespect grown folks. Now, I said something too about generation. And I said the elders in a generation pass down information that they learn from their elders. And I said, well, what the elders pass down to today's generation is not going to work. Well, let me make a correction on that. It will work based on who the individuals are. Because what I will tell you about children, the reason why they're not coachable, is because children have this mindset that they know everything. But where are children getting their information from? Where they're getting their information from social media. They're getting it from other individuals just like them. So in other words, they're getting information from individuals who are getting wrong information, and other individuals who they're getting information from, they're passing the wrong information to your children. Again, a number of children are being brainwashed in schools by education. They're being brainwashed by what they see on TV. They're being brainwashed by religion. Again, the black church is a miserable failure, and we all know it. They're getting brainwashed by government, and of course, corporate jobs. They're being brainwashed. And again, what I told you in the second part of this family video is that family members of the past, particularly in the black community, have taught their children that all you need is an education. That used to be true. What you need is a skill, and you need to know how to compete in the real world so you can be successful. And as a man, you need to know how to be responsible. You need to know how to lead. Because I will tell you this, as an African American man, many African Americans are behind the eight ball because we believe we have to give our paycheck to the females, and they decide where the money is going. But a number of females cannot manage money properly. Therefore, as an African American male, we don't invest anything. We don't have anything that is worth investing, because in our community, we're very consumptive. We believe in feeling good because as African Americans, we're taught to ride on our emotions. We're not taught to think. And this is what's wrong with a number of men. And with a number of men being brought up in households raised by women that were dysfunctional, number of African American men do not know how to compete in the real world. They don't even know how to be decisive. Number of African American men don't understand what competition is. We still believe in what I call moonlighting or protesting. So a number of us are still back in the 60s singing "We Shall Overcome." Well, the 60s have come and gone. But you have a number of family members who were brought up in my generation. I'm Generation X. And also you have late baby boomers who were born between 1960 and 1964. Many of us took the strap when we were bad. But at the end of the day, we've decided not to go along and utilize the authoritarian method of raising children. We now believe in being diplomatic with children, which means we're going to give children some type of power in the household, even though children didn't earn it. The problem with that is children now expect parents to give them everything. And a number of children don't appreciate what they have. This is why in the past I used to say, be blessed for what you have, don't worry about what you don't have. Always know that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. And what I really mean by that is some people don't see the sun rise in the east or set in the west, particularly if you are young children today who are brought up in the inner cities, and the inner cities are poverty and violence ridden. But as a true red pill man, when I put out the truth, it's preaching love to you. Again, I want to preach love to you because I'm trying to get individuals to see what's going on outside of their own lives. But you find out what's going on outside of your own lives once you see how your family members relate to one another. And if you come from a big family, you're going to see a lot of dysfunction. And like I said in previous videos, there's a number of molestation that's going on in the families. There's a number of physical abuse. Didn't bring that up. A lot of that goes on. Now, many of us don't talk about that. There's a lot of control issues, a lot of anger issues that go on with inside families. And believe it or not, going back to some of the profiles that I've seen with a number of women. Women tell you how much they love their family. Family is just a scapegoat for them when they're in a relationship or they're looking for a relationship. They utilize that scapegoat to run back to the family members, to tell the family members the business of what's going on in their relationship. And what they do, they get the family members hot under the collar so the family members can utilize an opinion, and they are going to utilize I told you that person wasn't any good. But when a woman goes back and tells the family members what's going on in a relationship, she doesn't tell them everything. She doesn't tell them that she's wrong. She blames everything on him when the problems are also on her. But when you have family members who step outside of their lane and they get in your business, your life is going to be screwed. And this is why I don't urge individuals to call their family members every day. See, if you had a good family, a family teaches you how to have your own life. And yes, you can have your grown kids living in the same house and they can have different lives. But when you're allowing your grown children to come and go as they please, use your water, use your power, use your food, or eat your food, and you're not asking anything of them, you're not teaching your grown children how to be responsible as an adult. And I see a lot of it with women. And again, there are some cultures that have generations of family living with them. But here in America, we believe that proper families teach their children how to master life, and then the children go on and make their own families. This is what we call a family tree. Again, me speaking. The purpose of children is not just to love them and provide for them, it's also to carry on the family name, carry on legacies. Because if your children are working harder than you were working, then something didn't go right. Now, again, I am not saying I'm against families, but what is happen is we don't talk about those issues of domestic violence within families. We don't even talk about the rape of other family members because there are some brothers who have raped the sisters. And when I talk about brothers and sisters, I'm not talking about black. I'm talking about overall siblings. There's been violence amongst siblings. In fact, that shooting that happened in Dayton, Ohio, with the 24-year-old, the first person that he shot was his own sister. And a lot of these shootings that have taken place, a number of these men have come from dysfunctional families. And I can tell you the one that took place in Sandy Hook back in 2012, 2013, and 2014, where the son went and killed a bunch of people in Sandy Hook, which is in Connecticut. Well, his mom had issues. His mom gave him the gun. And the first person that the son killed was his own mom. Then, not recent, well, it was recently, you had a son kill a former football player and his wife because the parents wouldn't give him money. And you have a lot of that going on. And with parents today trying to be friends with their children, they want their children to like them. But when you say no to the children are now coming back to harm the parents. That never happened in the past, except for the Menendez brothers. But when you are a parent, it is your job to guide your relationship as husband and wife or partners and teach your children. But a number of these parents, because we live in a sick, demented society, they allow their children to be part of their relationship. They allow their children to have an opinion. Now, there was an old saying in the past, children are to be seen and not heard. Now, again, I am not going against family. What I'm simply telling you is that everything you hear about family isn't rose-colored glasses. There is a lot of dysfunction going on within families, and you can see why individuals turn out the way they are. Now, nobody is perfect. My family isn't perfect. You can have stable families. But when it comes to being leaders, again, you have a number of the aunts. Some of the aunts, if you had family members that came from the urban areas, some of the aunts come from single-parent households. Some of the uncles come from single-parent households. So they don't know anything but the urban way of living, but some of the elder aunts and uncles decided to have children, and they're teaching the children what they know. Because a lot of the old heads out there, if they grew up poor, they weren't very educated when it came to business, money. All they knew how to do was to survive. Now, family should be used as a unit to give you emotional support. But you don't run back to your family every time you have a problem. Because when you do that, that's telling the world that you can't cope with competition. You can't solve problems. And a lot of family members out there, they're always going to have a biased opinion of you. And that biased opinion is always going to be positive. You don't hear too many family members say their kids ain't shit. And a lot of these kids ain't shit out here. No. Because family is always going to tell you something that sounds good, even though it isn't good. And at the end of the day, as a child, you have a mother or a father telling you everything is good. When it's not, they're lying to you. And when you get out in the real world, you're going to be disappointed because everything that your family taught you isn't happening. Well, I always believe this. You tell your children the truth, no matter how it hurts. And if you don't teach them while they're coming up, you can't teach them while they're grown. Now, I've seen many scenarios where children were very disrespectful to their mothers. They didn't care what their mothers had to say. All they wanted from their mothers was some money, a place to stay. And once they got that, they loved their mothers. But see, is it the child's fault that they were selfish? No. It's the mother and it's the father's fault. This is why, as a family, you don't call your kids prince or princess, because they're not. Because you love your children. The real world doesn't love your children. The real world could care less about your children. And I see many individuals out here who love their children way too much. And here's another thing that's not being said about family members. Some family members are sleeping with their children. We know that's happened. Because I can tell you right now, Tommy Sotomayor had a picture of a child who was 18. He took his 34-year-old mom to the prom. Now, the child had his arm around his mom, and the mom had her arm around the child as if they were dating. Because some of these moms are sick themselves. They have the Oedipus complex. Some of these moms are treating their sons as if the son was their man. We don't talk a lot about that. But these are issues that get swept under the rug. There's been times where moms molested their sons. So we talk about what the dads have done, but we don't ever talk about what the moms have done. And a lot of onus out here when it comes to families is on the moms and the dads. But we always expose the dads and call them perverts when you have a lot of perverted moms out here. And when there's a problem with the moms, you don't hear anything from the feminists. See, the feminists always promote the bad behavior when it comes to men, and they're silent with the bad behavior when it comes to women. And see, this is that Machiavellianism. This is that narcopathism, that psychopathism, part of the dark triad that I've mentioned on my blog talk radio shows. Because, again, when it comes to family, a family that's well-intentioned is teaching their children the rights and wrongs about life. They're not teaching children how to become adults. We love our children. We should go to bat for our children. But at the end of the day, we have to let our children grow and then go. Now, of course, again, if there's a catastrophe with your child, there's nothing wrong with helping them out. You should help them out. But it's not your everyday life to construe your time and resources for your children when you don't have the time and resources. Because all you're going to do is stress yourself. And same thing for the children. Not your job to help your elderly parents. Because as a child, your parents who are now elderly have lived their lives. You can't do much for them after a while. Their number's being called. So as a child, you deserve to live your life. But as a parent, after you raise your children, you deserve to live your life. And this is why I'm saying, men and women out there, from a red pill perspective, if a person is raising family, don't date them. Now, at your own wish, you can have sexual desires and sex with that person. I wouldn't advise that. Because at the end of the day, you're just fooling yourself. Again, blood is always thicker than water. That's what's been said. But you have a number of family members that believe they can take and take and take and take. And if you don't say no to them, they're going to continue to take. And if you achieve something when they told you you couldn't, they're going to expect you to give them some of your resources. And if you don't, they're going to act like little children and shame you. And some of them might even harm you. Because just because you're part of a family, there's always envy and jealousy that goes on when it comes to families. You even have people who are married and the families are fighting one another. Now, why does that happen? Because there's a lot of dysfunction that goes on with families. Because each side of the family, whether it's the wife or the husband side, didn't like the spouse that their child married. And when you allow your family to come in between your relationship, all they're going to do is tear you down. And at the end of the day, it's going to be very, very difficult for your relationship to maintain and be sustainable. And like I said, if you're in a relationship, you keep your business to yourself. You don't tell your family anything. Because once you compromise your relationship, you tell family members, all they're going to do is give you nothing but their drama. And that's my commentary for this edition of the 401 Talk Zone radio show. If you like what I presented, please comment, share, and subscribe. Please like my other channel, The Mind of STEM. Catch me on Blog Talk Radio. I'd like to say, once again, that concludes this video. My name is Leon Jones. Just want you to have a gracious day. God bless you. I'm out.